Al Sharpton would call Trump's comments the epitome of an insult. First of all, let's be clear. Donald Trump is using the stereotype of blacks being criminals, and therefore we would gravitate towards somebody in a mugshot. He's in a mugshot for trying to interfere with an election. Blacks were arrested to get the right to vote. Sharpton's words were filled with passion as he began to list his reasons why Trump's words were so offensive. He would go on to say,
I repeat, the insult of saying that black voters would be enticed to support him because he had a mugshot like all of us are criminals. To say that because he has 4 indictments, really 2 of which, both Georgia and the federal, are trying to rob votings, when we had to fight, people were bloody, beaten, and killed to get us the right to vote. And one of his supporters got on Fox News saying, blacks love him because of the sneakers. He didn't support George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, Biden did, and signed an executive order. But we supposed to go for sneakers and a mugshot. Those blacks that are standing there with him, have you no shame?
Now, Sharpton's words would gain a variety of opinions, both positive and negative. Some agreed with what he had to say, while others seemed to be angered by Sharpton's words, thinking he's swaying votes. One user online would write, Reverend Al Sharpton wants all black people to keep marching around the bottom of the mountain, and maybe one day they will reach the mountain top. Free-thinking black folks will vote for whomever we dang well choose. If that's Trump, then that's who it is. Most of you on social media saying you won't vote for him either won't bother to vote at all or vote for him at the voting booth when nobody is looking. We don't need to explain nothing to nobody. Another user on Twitter would chime in and say, you cannot tell black people who they can and cannot vote for. Tired of people like you shaming black people for finally having their own voice. We have been done such a disservice for decades, and we are always last. It's their constitutional right, and really not for you to judge those who no longer want to be part of the sick radical agenda. I think of Al Sharpton's message towards black Trump supporters. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments below. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our
conversations with New York crime bosses during the 1980s. He reportedly was known as confidential informant number 7. But Sharpton says he was a victim. He says he called the FBI after he was threatened. Sharpton admitted recording some conversations, but said he was never told he was an informant.
Involved with Al Sharpton and Don King.
Yes.
During this time. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I had a big undercover operation on me at the time. Obviously, I didn't know it, where an FBI agent, undercover, and an informant that used to work with Muhammad Ali, they were trying to target the boxing industry for illegal gain. And so they got to me somehow through somebody I knew, and they were trying to get me to set up Don King, and they were trying to put us both in a problem and see how we were fixing fights and how, we were doing things we shouldn't have been doing in the fighting game. And Al Sharpton, who I knew very well at the time, was my liaison between Don King and myself. And, Al Sharpton at the time, he was a gun for hire, We needed him to do some things with his own people, which he called them at the time. We hired him to do it. We used to pay him. He was valuable in the music business because the Norby Walters, the guy I had at that time that was booking all these acts, we'd send Al out to meet with the act that he wanted to book, and Al would bring him to us for a price. That's how we used him. So I know Al very well.
Okay. And what happened with Don King?
Well, they had an undercover operation on me for about 8 or 9 months. But I was very leery of these guys. I was very careful how I worked with them. And I eventually brought them to Don King. But in the first meeting that I had with King, I said, look, I can only trace these guys back maybe a year. I said, so in this first meeting we have, don't say anything illegal. Play it straight. Say everything across the board. They want to invest money. They'll invest it with you. We'll get into the fight game, but don't talk about anything you shouldn't be talking about. So we had the meeting, and he did it exactly like that. What happened was, and it was a big case, we called it shadow boxing. That was Sports Illustrated wrote it up. It was a whole big thing. What happened was they tried to continue. They were trying to get the money to give to Don, who was going to be a lot of money at the time. And they had, I believe, 81 tape recordings of me. They turned it over to the U.S. attorney at the time, and none of those tape recordings worked to have me indicted. I didn't say anything on them that would hurt myself. So they eventually had to close it down, and it went nowhere. But the only one that got in trouble over that was Al Sharpton, because he tried to do a drug deal with the agents. And then he became an informant after that, 100%, no matter what he says. They eventually had to close it down, and it went nowhere. But the only one that got in trouble over that was Al Sharpton, because he tried to do a drug deal with the agents. And then he became an informant after that, 100%, no matter what he says. He was an informant. He tried to do a drug deal. They got him on tape doing the deal, the whole bit. The only one that got in trouble over that was Al Sharpton. The only one that got in trouble over that was Al Sharpton, because he tried to do a drug deal with the agents. And then he became an informant after that, 100%, no matter what he says. He was an informant. He tried to do a drug deal. They got him on tape doing the deal, the whole bit.
Al Sharpton
Al Sharpton.
was an informant.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
He got in trouble over that was Al Sharpton, because he tried to do a drug deal with the agents. And then he became an informant after that, 100%, no matter what he says. He was an informant. He tried to do a drug deal. They got him on tape doing the deal, the whole bit.
Al Sharpton
Al Sharpton.
was an informant.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Did he get anyone busted?
That I don't know, but you know, there's a lot of news on this. I mean, Newsday wrote a 3-part series on his being, you know, Al Sharpton and getting himself in trouble. I don't know how he skated that, but that's Al. I mean, he's a good talker. He gets away with stuff.
Say hello to my little friend. You want to play Russ? Okay. Okay, you like that? Huh? You want